What up? Daniel Augustine here. I'm on the road right now, but I wanted to record a quick video. I just went back and forth with somebody in my comments, and I just want to talk about that really quick. I went back and forth with somebody in my comments because I said something about Deion Sanders in my previous video, and they didn't like it. I essentially talked about how the fact that I believe Deion Sanders is a bad football coach. I think he's a good salesman, but I don't think he's a great football coach. And a couple other things I said. I didn't say he's a bad person. Talk about the fact that he's a bad coach. I do like Deion the father, even though I don't know Deion the father like that. From the outside looking in, I love that he loves his children. I love that. I love that he's present for his children. That's amazing. But I chose to make a video about football, about leadership. And this person commented, and they were clearly very triggered. And they commented because they felt like what I said was blasphemous. You know what's funny is I said in the video, some of you might say that that's blasphemy. You coming for our own. And that's exactly what this guy did. This person did. I can't even tell who the person is because they don't have a real photo on their YouTube. Anyways, they commented asking me if I've ever been in the NFL and if I have a son who's successful. That had nothing to do with the video that I made. Nothing. But I let them ask that. I responded back kindly every single time they responded to me. Now, one thing I want to say is, you deciding to ask me if I've been in the NFL and if I have a son who's successful, I know he thought that was cute, that was funny. And I'm sure he thought that he was going to shame me into silence. But that's not how this works. And I'm not going to allow that to work. The fact that I have a take and an opinion and a strong opinion about Deion Sanders and about that football program and about leadership and coaching, the fact that that triggers you, that has nothing to do with me. That says more about you and your beliefs and what you want to believe and how you want to feel, how you want to move through this world. A lot of people, especially black people, especially people in the media, whether black or white, who want to stay friends and close to Deion, don't want to call Deion out when he's not doing well.
Shedeur did not want to be drafted by Baltimore and preferred to end up in a place where he might have a better chance to play sooner. The Ravens instead drafted an offensive lineman, Carson Vincent, with the 141st pick. I'm going to go ahead.
I think one that shows a soft side of Deion. I think it shows his ego, but I also think it shows that everybody else can acknowledge his ego. And they can't come for him because they're scared to lose that relationship. They're scared for Deion to be calling them out. They're probably scared to be called racist. If you're black and you're not talking about the truth, then you're probably afraid of people coming for you. And if you're white and you're not saying the truth, then you're probably afraid to be called racist. Ultimately, I told this guy, no, I've never been in the NFL, but I have competed collegiately and I earned all mine. The scholarship that I got, I earned that. I didn't have a dad who was successful, who just gave me that opportunity. If I did, well, my whole life would probably be different. I'm sure of that. But that's not something that I need to be ashamed about. That doesn't have anything to do with me. Shedeur Sanders is a silver spoon kid through and through. Silver spoon through and through. And I believe that that's why he got put into the 5th round. I believe that's why he's going through something right now. I've been talking about Shedeur Sanders for about a year and change now. This ain't new. I've been rooting this young man on since jump. I wanted to see him and the Colorado Buffaloes do very well. I wanted them to get to the Big 12 title game. I wanted them to win the Big 12 title game. I wanted them to get to the college football playoff. I've been rooting them on. But he's got such a silver spoon laid out in front of him that there's a certain part of his career now that he's just now running into for the first time, and that's competition. When he went to Jackson State, his dad gave him the starting role, and when he went to Colorado, his dad gave him the starting role. I wouldn't be surprised had he gone to an actual school outside of a school his dad coached. I wouldn't have been surprised if he would have had to have sat on the bench for a little bit and waited his turn, either because of politics, because this other person's a senior and they're going to finish it out and they're just going to be more faithful to that guy, or maybe because he just genuinely didn't earn it. So this guy bringing up my son and bringing up Deion, I'm sure at first it felt good to him, but then I clapped back because I'm here for it. You know, he also said to me that, you know, I'm buying subscribers because I got 5,000 subscribers, but my video only had, I guess, 25 views at the time. has 50 right now. But I got other videos. I have other videos that got views. I got other videos with 10,000, 20,000. That's not even the point. The point was not for me to post the video and go viral, because I post videos and they are still on my page right now that have not gone viral. I should take them all down then if the whole thing is to make sure the video goes viral, or if there's supposed to be a certain amount of shame towards the fact that a video didn't go viral. The point is self-expression. The point is I have an idea, I have a strong opinion, and I want to share it. That's it. And that's all that matters. But these people, these prime sexuals, get hyper emotional when you bring up Deion Sanders and you tell the truth. I also had another person comment. The first comment on the video was somebody telling me how they agree 1,000%, 100% with everything that I said. Everything that I said, and how they're not focusing on recruiting much. They're not focusing on any of that. Deion's not focusing on any of that, and how he hasn't been successful, and how he's been playing daddy ball. And Deion tends to use religion and mentioning God and his faith in God as a way to gaslight his way out of a conversation, or as a way to kind of get other people to back off the time. He doesn't just use it for that now. He'll use it in a way, he'll talk about God in a way where he's genuinely giving God praise. Beautiful. But then he uses it sometimes as a crutch. I grew up in a black church. I don't need to be in the NFL and to have a successful son who also made it to the NFL for me to be able to call that out. I know what that is. I know what I'm seeing. And people act like you can't know what you're seeing just because you're not Deion Sanders. One thing I noticed about this guy is he kept moving the goalposts. He was not comfortable with any of the points that I was making. And he wasn't bringing up any points. He just kept asking me questions. I kept responding to his questions. And after I would respond to his questions, he would gaslight me. He even ended the conversation bringing up God out of nowhere, talking about how, Sanders and the family and Shedeur and them, they're all about God, and what God wanted was what happened, and lions don't focus on the opinions of sheep. He spent a majority of his time name calling me. I did call him a prime sexual. So, I'm sure that could be offensive, so I'll own up to that, you feel me? But, he called me goofy, said I'm not cooking him. He said I'm not cooking him and I'm goofy. He said I'm a sheep, or I have the opinions of a sheep, I guess. He called me a bunch of other stuff too. And that's just clear for me to know that you don't got nothing to bring into this conversation. If you just straight up on, he also brought up the fact that I'm not in the NFL and that whatever. That's just a clear indication to me that you feel uncomfortable in this conversation, and now you're going to resort to trying to cut me down. I called him a prime sexual because he is. I guess you could say I'm cutting you down, but no, it's just, if you're not allowing me to tell you my opinions about somebody else and you're just hyper focused on defending the person, you're not even focused on listening. You're not focused on genuinely listening to what somebody else is saying. You're only focused on defending your stance. You're prime sexual. You just want to defend Deion because you don't want your idea of this black coach who's such a good coach to be changed, broken, shifted. He started mentioning that, tell me what Colorado kids are getting in trouble, and this, that, and the third. And I was like, Shedeur literally just got pulled over for speeding. He literally just got pulled over for speeding like a month ago. What are we talking about? But then I said to him, I'm like, that's not even what the point of my video is about. I'm talking about the fact that Deion has more to do with Shedeur's draft slide than anything, because Shedeur is a reflection of his father. Shedeur thinks that he can have an ego as big as his father. So he proceeds to bring up the whole thing about Eli Manning. And what about the fact that Eli Manning and his dad told teams not to draft him? Okay, well, I responded to that, and I gave him a very good response, in my opinion. I told him that ultimately, yes, the draft is everybody's dream, but it doesn't mean that you can expect it. It doesn't mean that it's a given. I don't care what number you get drafted. There needs to be gratitude for getting drafted and for accomplishing getting into the NFL. There needs to be gratitude through and through. I told him, I said, the way you present yourself through the process has so much to do with why teams fall in love with you and draft you than sometimes your play on the field does. The only way your play on the field will overshadow how you show up in the meetings is if you mess around and ran a 4.2 40 and tore anything else up that you did at the combine in a way where they know they're about to get a piece that they can't get anywhere else. But come on, quarterbacks are a dime a dozen. I don't get my quarterback this year, I'm gonna get him next year. I don't get my quarterback this year or next year, I'll go to free agency. Dime a dozen. good quarterbacks, that's different. So when he brought up Eli Manning, I said to him about Eli Manning and his father, I said they didn't do that in the media's face. And somebody, please comment, tell me if I'm wrong, prove me wrong, please. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. You feel me? I'm not gonna act like I'm perfect. So if there's a clip out there, please send it to me. I'd love to see it. I'll even check myself after doing this. But I never saw any interviews or heard of any interviews where Eli's father was on a talk show telling people how there are teams I'm not gonna let Eli play for. I don't remember that happening. I don't ever remember that happening. So everything that Eli Manning and his father did was behind the scenes. Eli Manning didn't show his ass at the combine. He showed up at the combine. Here's the big deal. If you want to get drafted, especially high, there has to be a part of you, no matter how big your ego is internally, no matter how big that thing is that helps you turn it on so that you can go do the work you got to do so you can show people up on the field, there's got to be a part of you that's very humble and a part of you that understands gratitude before ego. Who can look at Eli Manning and say they see any ego? That's all you see when you look at Shedeur. That's literally all you see is this. When they ask Cam Ward about his pre-draft process and so on and so forth, he says, you know what, honestly, I'm so grateful to be picked by the Tennessee Titans. I'm really fond of Brian Callahan, the head coach, and I want to play a lot of games with him. I hope I'm here with him for a long time. That's such a great statement to make because it lets the coach know how you feel about him. It lets the GM know how you feel about the head coach. It lets the organization know how you feel about the head coach. It lets all the players on the team know how you feel about the head coach. And it also lets everybody know that you're not putting yourself above the process. You're not acting like, you were a Heisman candidate. You're not acting like you were the number one pick. No, you're a guy who's going to be in the locker room, who's going to be respectful of the head coach. And those coaches need to know that because those coaches are sometimes going to talk to you like, I'm going to ask you how you feel, and sometimes they're going to tell you how they feel. And if they get the slightest idea that you're going to go rogue on them ever, they're not going to feel so comfortable with bringing you on board because they know their job is on the line. I am sure that's why Brian Daboll did not draft Shedeur. Why the Giants, I should say, did not draft Shedeur. Heard reports. Said this in the comments to the guy. I'm talking about reports. He just chose to tell me that I'm just talking about stuff that people in the draft talked about. So did they make it all up? They made all of it up. They made all of it up. Did they make up the Philly thing and the Baltimore thing? Because now Deion Sanders just jumped out there in the interviews to defend that. So did they make these things up? Told Adam Schefter or Albert Breer, I forget which one of those guys, but they told one of them that, yeah, we met with Shedeur and the meeting wasn't good. It didn't go good. He didn't do well on the whiteboard. He didn't really know his stuff on the whiteboard. He kind of had an attitude or energy of kind of like, like none of this matters. And it shows because that's how I saw him playing. I studied. I didn't just watch these games for fun. I love football, but I studied. I was breaking down game after game after game. I broke down almost every team that I was watching. I broke down those games. I was breaking down Texas, Ohio State, Florida, Miami. I broke down so many games. I saw Colorado from the beginning of the season all the way through the end. And I saw careless behavior. I didn't see a leader. I didn't see a guy who rallies his troops up on the sideline when they need to hear it. I didn't see that. I didn't see a guy who does that. I saw a guy who, after Nebraska, got out there in front of the press conference and said,
how many times did Riley get touched?
You said what?
How many times did Riley get touched?
Bro, you know how crazy that is? How shameless that is? To go there in front of the press conferences and basically call out your O-line by talking about the other quarterback and talking about the fact that the other quarterback didn't touch the floor nowhere as near as much as you did. When I told this guy that I believe Deion is a bad coach, I said that because games like Nebraska, he wanted to bring up the 9-4 season. The 9-4 season, that's great. But I don't care about that if the games you won are games against slop-ass teams. But when you played against the teams that really mattered, the teams that were better, teams that were ranked, teams where you really needed to get that dub, to go to the Big 12 title or to establish how much this team has changed, they lost. They lost three big Big 12 games. Kansas State, Kansas, and BYU. This is how you know I broke it down because I don't have no script in front of me and this is off the dome right now. And then they lost to Nebraska. All four games, they lost the same way. All four games. All four of those teams ran down their motherfucking throat. Ran down Colorado's throat, and Deion Sanders did not make not one adjustment. Didn't come into the game with an approach where it's like, we know they're gonna run the ball. No, it's just all this hype about you gotta believe. You gotta believe. Every opportunity is your chance. Every day is your chance to do better. And that's what Deion is doing. And that's what this guy started to get at afterwards. Now he's moving the goalposts in the conversation, saying stuff to me like, everything is not about football, man. You should talk about the fact that those kids have high GPAs and they have the highest GPAs in Colorado. And you should talk about the fact that his kids aren't getting in trouble. And you should talk about the fact that Deion is a leader of men. Every coach is in that position, whether they take the leader part serious or not. Ultimately, football is where you get these lessons from, not always the coach. Football is where you get the lessons of discipline and work ethic. And the coach helps to implement so much more on that, and to add the sugar, add the weight of discipline, add the weight of work ethic, add the weight of philosophy. And what is our philosophy for this game? What's our overall team philosophy for the season, etc. But instead, I'm a goofy dude for hitting him with facts and saying what people don't want to say. Shannon Sharp don't want to say it. Ocho Cinco don't want to say it. What's his name? I really like this guy too. Rich Eisen, not gonna say it. Not gonna say it. No. That's my friend. I'm not going to call him out. I'm not going to call out his son. I get that. I understand that completely. I totally get that. That's why it's people like me that's going to say what I really see, what I actually see happening. And then I brought up to him, I said, Deion, I just don't think he's a great coach. I think he's a bad coach, and I think he's a better salesman than he is a coach. But, you know, he's over here making more money yearly than Nick Saban made. I get it. Play the game. Play the game. I get it. And I'm not mad at Deion Sanders either. I'm not here to knock the hustle. I'm here to call out the fact that you're not a good coach, and I would like to see you do better. Hell, I want to see Colorado do better. But y'all not doing as well as you could because he's not doing any real coaching. He's not honest enough to be like, yeah, man, I had 2 timeouts and I should have used them. Everybody who plays Madden understands how to use timeouts. You don't even need to be a football player for that, for real, for real. Everybody knows I got 2, 3 timeouts and it's 30 seconds on this clock. Bet. Move down the field a little bit. I'm going to use this timeout. Deion Sanders in the interview talking about, why would I use a timeout when we got 9 yards on that play? And if we get 1 more yard, the clock stops. Because the clock didn't stop yet. Because it didn't stop yet. And you're about to lose 12 seconds trying to get people to run back from that deep route they just ran to come back to the line of scrimmage. You're not smart when it comes to coaching. I do think you're passionate. I do think you're an aspirational dude. You're the best cornerback of all time. These things can't be questioned. But when it comes to being a good football coach, you ain't no Nick Saban. You're not a good coach in general. It's not even just about Nick Saban. You're not in that conversation at all. That 9-4 season, those 4 losses say more about Colorado and Deion Sanders than those 9 wins do. Sometimes people get drunk off the appeal of success, the veil of success. And those 9 wins, it makes losers say we were successful because we went to a bowl game. But the truth of the matter is, first of all, what was the goal from the start of the season? Was there a goal, or was it just to be the fighting primes? So that's one. Second of all, the big picture here is it's nice that you won 9 games. That's really dope. That's a huge uptick from the year before. Huge uptick from the year before that. But like I just said, those losses say more because those losses show you have clear-cut weaknesses that you do not know how to address. That's coaching. That's coaching. Coming into the game and saying, we know Kansas State wants to run the ball with DJ Giddens. We know they want to run the ball with Avery Johnson. And we know they got 1 really talented wide receiver. Travis, you lock up that 1 really talented wide receiver. If anything, we'll give you some extra help over the top. Maybe. Actually not. We're going to use the extra help for the other corners because they're not as strong as you. Then we're going to have Shiloh, who I'm not that fond of, honestly. But I'm going to have Shiloh or Silman Craig, probably use him instead. You are going to be playing in the box this game. You're going to be crowding the line of scrimmage. You're going to be 8 yards away from the line of scrimmage. Your whole goal in this game is to meet DJ Giddens in the hole. Matter of fact, I would go Shiloh, you got DJ Giddens, or Shiloh, you got Avery Johnson, and Silman Craig, you got Giddens, or vice versa. That's your whole game plan for this game. They never addressed it. And sure enough, After Colorado scored that touchdown in the fourth quarter and they thought they won, and Shedeur was on the sideline all happy and stuff, and he finally had his energy back upticked, and you can see him, he dancing with the music in the background and stuff. And then Kansas State gashed them for a 30-yard run or a 30-yard swing pass to DJ Giddens. This is coaching, dog. And the real coaches, they hit these points well before the game. They get to all this shit well before it happens. They game plan for this, and they come into the game already preparing their team for the other team's strengths and the other team's weaknesses. And the fact that they got exposed 4 times in the same season, the same way, it lets you know there's no coaching going on. Y'all are the fighting primes. Y'all are the hopeful primes. You guys are hoping to be that team. You're hoping to be able to ride off into the sunset off the wings of Deion Sanders' motivational speeches. His speeches ain't gonna do it if there's not no real game plan behind them. Every team is different, so every week there needs to be a different approach. The way they lost to Nebraska says so much about them and their offense, and the way they weren't able to switch things up because they didn't switch it up the whole season. The fact that I broke these teams down, the fact that I was watching all season, I'm going to be able to speak on this a lot more confidently than somebody who just jumps into the comments because they're a prime sexual. You're not going to really make any points if you're just a prime sexual, dog. If you're just jumping in here because you're just passionate about Deion Sanders and black everything and black success, I get that. That's cute, but that ain't got nothing to do with whether or not we got the dub or whether or not we took an L. That ain't got nothing to do with that. And if it ain't got nothing to do with that, then what I'm going to do with that? What am I going to do with this? What am I going to do with the fact that Deion Sanders is a black football coach? That ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm watching for good ball. I'm watching for good ball. That's it. I'm not watching because, I need to see this black person be successful. I'm just watching for good ball, dog. I'm over here rooting for John Gruden to be the Gators football coach. John Gruden not black. I saw somebody in the comments the other day say, what about Deion Sanders? What? Hell no. Hell no. Look, I know it's an unpopular take. I know it's a hot take. And you know what? I think I'm going to just go ahead and start hitting y'all with a hot take of the week. Something that might trigger you. Something that might just could piss you off. But I got to say it because everybody else too afraid to. Anyways, this is not about people agreeing with me. Again, this is about self-expression. This is about the fact that I'm watching and I'm breaking down game tape and I got something to say and I want to say it. It's not about the fact that I didn't make it to the NFL. It's not about the fact that I didn't have a dad that was playing football, and put me on a team and made me the starter and, gave me more reps and made sure I was this, that, and the third and defended me in the media and never took me out of the game because he was babying me. No, that's not what my story is. My dad came here to the United States on a boat. My dad was lucky, blessed, grateful to be here. My dad was grateful to be here. He was so grateful to be here that he was perfectly happy just doing his transportation job. So the whole idea of people wanting to try to come for you just because they don't agree with you, all right, now you're looking at people that are just in a dark space. Those aren't real football fans. That guy is a prime sexual. I need a definition. I'm gonna create a definition. A prime sexual. A prime sexual is a person who cannot handle facts clearly because of their emotional attachment to Deion Sanders and the Sanders family, essentially. But anyways, y'all, I'm about to be out of here. I got some work to do. Appreciate you if you got to this part of the video. You dig? Would really appreciate it though if you decided to subscribe. For real, you know what I'm saying? Tap in with me. Got this clown over here making fun of me because of my 5,000 subscribers. Listen, I'm grateful for my 5,000 subscribers. Genuinely, I am, wholeheartedly. Would I like more? Would I like to get to 10? Yeah, I want to get to 10. But I'm really grateful for the fact that there are 5,000 people on there. I highly doubt those 5,000 people are watching these videos every time because I do not tend to have 5,000 views on every single video. But that's besides the point. The point is he felt like he wanted to just try and make fun of me because of his emotional attachment to Deion Sanders and the Deion Sanders family. I'm just keeping it a buck, man, and sometimes you're not going to like that. But I get it. That's the game. The game is the game. But all right, y'all. Appreciate you if you stuck around this long. Yeah, that's all.